Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Sounds Like Freedom. I'm your host, Deborah Henne, and I am so excited to have author, speaker, and runway model Christine Handy with us today. Christine Handy is an international print and runway model. She's also a national best-selling author of the book Walk Beside Me, a fictional depiction of Christine's life. She became a keynote speaker after her book was published in 2016. She's a mentor, a breast cancer advocate, a public figure, a social media influencer, a nationally recognized humanitarian, and a mother of two sons. She serves on the board of three nonprofit organizations, eBeauty, People of Purpose, and the Break Free Foundation. She just completed a master's degree at Harvard University in literature and creative writing and is publishing a second novel. Her first novel is currently being adapted into a film called Willow, the feature film by writer and director Ziad Hamza. Welcome.
Thank you.
Very excited to have you.
Thank you
Now,
so
as
much.
we were talking a little bit before, you live in Florida. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and um,
Sure. I have been, yes, I do live in Miami, which is super hot right now. But I've been a model since I was 11 years old. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I thought, well, that's my career is certainly over. But ultimately, I went back to modeling because I lost my chest to really originally breast cancer, but then I had implants. And then ultimately, I lost it to breast implant illness when the implants had to be excavated. And so it was then that I realized that maybe I should go back to modeling and show that my self-esteem and my self-worth is not dependent on what I look like or my chest or scars. It's dependent on how I feel about myself. And so if I could show that on a bigger platform to people, then maybe I could help some people. And so I have had a long career in the modeling industry. And after my diagnosis with breast cancer, I thought, well, if I can write a book and share, how I did it wrong for a long time and, how I've changed and transitioned and how I'm doing it right now, then maybe I could help more people. So I really just try to inspire and give people hope.
I think hope is so key. And
Yes.
so when you were going through some of those dark days, I'm sure they were dark days with the
Yes.
diagnosis and overcoming. What were some key strategies that you found helpful to kind of get your head back in a space of hope
Yes.
and to focus yourself on truth, like God's truth?
So I think that when we measure our success or failures by society, by relationships, by status, by money, by materialism, then our self-esteem is being constantly dissected. And when I was very dependent on those things and right when I prior to my illness and then when I was ill and my beauty and my hair and the things that I thought were important were washed away, I had to really dig deep inside and figure out, well, wait, without those things, who am I? And I realized that, listen, my measure has to be from God. My measure has to be from faith. Because if it's from anything else, it can be washed away or taken away or chopped away. And so, but now because my measure is from God, at the end of the day, I say to myself, okay, did I do what I was meant to do today? Not from a society standpoint, from a God standpoint. And if I'm good with God at the end of the day, I'm good. And so I don't really care about the huge successes in life that society calls successes or the huge failures in life that society determines as failures. I care about, being in alignment with Christ.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that paradigm shift is so key and so important to take society and culture and say, you know what, you aren't going to define me. My definition comes from Christ, because otherwise we're constantly being redefined,
Well,
right?
we're constantly being judged. We're constantly comparing ourselves to other people. And that kind of instability isn't sustaining. And so I'm trying to talk about it because I got sucked into it. I mean, I was deeply sucked into what society thought of me. And, I walk out my front door and pretend I was, just getting out of bed and kind of looking messy, but I had full makeup on and, I wasn't, I was seriously put a lot of effort into looking messy. That's not how I want to live my life. I want to walk out the door being who I am and I have no chest. And I want to walk in Miami Swim Week and I want to walk in New York Fashion Week, not with prosthetics, not with anything else other than who I am, to show people all you need to equip yourself with is you. You know, I love this little Garfield. I have a little meme on my phone. It's Garfield and it says, "Get up. Nobody's coming to save you." You know, when I was dependent on my ex-husband to take care of me or people in my life to say, "Oh, why aren't you taking care of me? Aren't you supposed to take care of me?" No, we have to take care of ourselves. Get up. Nobody's coming to save you.
Absolutely. I have a friend who has since passed on from breast cancer, but she said, get up and live. She was like,
Yes,
every day, get up and live and just find the joy in today and find the joy in serving the Lord today in today's portion. Don't get trapped in the past and don't get bogged down in the future.
right.
Today, get up and live.
That's all we have. All we have is today, and really our time, everybody's time is marked. I didn't need an oncologist to say to me, "This is your percentile chance of survival." We already know we are all going to expire at some point, right?
Mhm.
And that's a harsh reality, but it's true. And so when we face that, then we know that today matters. How we treat people matters today. Our outlook, how are we going to show courage or are we going to show fear? That matters to our community and that matters to ourselves. Because if we're showing fear and we're living in fear, then we become fearful. But if we're showing ourselves hope, even if it's hard, even if we don't necessarily adhere to that, if we keep showing ourselves hope, we'll ultimately believe that. And so I'm not afraid of getting cancer back. I mean, if it happens, it's out of my control. I don't want it to happen because I feel like I have a great purpose in this life. But when it does, it's or when I'm done, then I'm good with God because I've done everything I can every single day to show people hope, to show people courage. And that's really what we're meant to do.
Absolutely. And I know you're a writer, I'm a fellow writer. So one thing that I find very helpful to get my thoughts kind of reacclimated is to write and
Yes.
to express through writing. And sometimes it's neat to go back and look through those journals and to go back through those writings. And I tend to express myself through poetry. I don't actually publish in poetry, but I express through poetry and to see the journey that God takes you
Yeah.
on from one place into another place. It's like an incremental journey of learning to live, learning to really live, and
Right.
learning to have that hope and that faith. And I love how it's the now faith. I heard somebody say, it's not yesterday's faith, it's not tomorrow's faith, it's now faith. It's a
Yeah.
present, all the time present thing that we stand in.
Well, it's an
Um,
action. Faith is an action. It's a muscle. And depending on which muscles you want to use, that will dictate your life. So we can use the fear muscle or we can use the faith muscle. It's a choice. Like it's our focus. And so when I focus on hope and I focus on prayer and I focus on serving, then I know and I feel joy inside. But when I focus on this world and I focus on materialism and I focus on comparison and social media and those types of things, I don't feel joy.
Absolutely. I think that is so key. And that is something I've been really learning to tune into lately, where, if my thoughts get off just a little bit in fear or, something from this world or a hurt or an offense, all of a sudden there's no joy. All
Absolutely.
that area, it gets like, it's like a parasite. It just sucks the life right out of you.
Yeah.
But as soon as I release that, and if it's an offense, I forgive. If it's, some like a lie, I resubmit to God's truth and I surrender that. It, the joy and the peace, it just comes in waves and it is so powerful. It's like life sustaining. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that if people kind of get into that and tap into that, their lives will never be the same.
Yeah. We speak the same language. I hope people are listening to this and trying to take notes because when like what you said, when you focus on certain things, they leave you depleted. When you focus on faith, it's life giving.
Absolutely. Now you have a book that you've
Yes.
written. Can you tell us about the book that you've written?
My book is called Walk Beside Me, and it's about my journey through breast cancer and other illnesses. And it's a very faith based book. And it's interesting because when I first was going to publish it, I had PR people say to me, I'm not sure this is how well this is going to be received because it has such a strong faith base in it. And I was like, well, but I got through chemotherapy through my faith and through my friends who were very faithful godly women. And so if I take that out of it, then I'm not being faithful to how I got through and not being honest. And so I said to God when I published it, I said, okay, if you want to get it out, get it out. And it really is, that kind of faith and that loss of or submission to I don't know what the outcome is, but you do. And that ability, that freedom to just let it go. And so since then, subsequently to my publishing my book, which has been very well received, it's actually being made into a film currently. It was called Willow the feature film. They actually just changed the name to Hello Beautiful, which is it's even more powerful because at the end of the film you'll eventually see it's a really powerful title. So that's an exciting process because now it's a bigger voice, right? It's going to be a bigger message, and so that I'm looking forward to that.
It sounds amazing and sounds like the kind that I would just sit there and cry. I'd watch and just cry.
Well, it's not about us, right? We know that very well. It's if you live a life of faith, it's not about you. It's about serving. And so for me, the film it's an important film, not because it's my story, but it's because if you think about films and sick lit, what it's called, cancer, then what comes to mind for me are like Philadelphia, which is you know the the protagonist dies of AIDS. If you think about Steel Magnolias, it's the protagonist dies at the end. If you think about all these movies about illness, the protagonist dies because that makes a dramatic story, right? It's so sad in the ending, but people move on and the families are happy and whatever. And but this film, the protagonist lives, the patient lives, and it's a story of hope. We don't we don't always have to go to the cinema and see all this sadness and darkness. I mean, don't get me wrong. The cancer journey that you will witness on the screen was horrible. There were many times I wasn't sure I was going to wake up the next morning. It was very dark. And the story is not it's not like it's all light. It's dark too. But in the very end, you see a survival. And I think our world needs that more than anything. There are so many women who are being diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer in particular, and they're getting younger and younger. I don't want to go to a movie and see a breast cancer patient dying at the end of the show. I want to go to a movie and see the breast cancer survivor surviving. And that's what I think the message needs to be in our world. There's so much darkness. We need some more hope.
Absolutely. Surviving and thriving.
Well, thriving is that's the story of my life. Like I live in chronic pain and I have had 3 major illnesses, including breast cancer. And if people watch me on socials, they're like, that girl's not surviving. That girl is thriving. Again, it goes back to mark time. If I don't know, tomorrow is promised to nobody. We don't know when it's the end for us on this earth. So why wouldn't I do as much as possible today to help this world? I'm going to every day.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly, 100%. I love your message. I love it. And I have your website here, christinehandy.com. Um,
Awesome.
so can you tell us what we could expect to find on your website and how people can maybe get a hold of you, hold of your book?
Yeah, so my book is sold a lot of places. Amazon, I think, is the easiest place. You can also buy it off my website, which actually forwards you to Amazon. But, on my website are tons of interviews. I did an amazing collaboration with Victoria's Secret as one of their breastless models, and that's on there. And amongst other interviews, which are, I mean, most of my interviews are pretty hopeful. So I hope that's what they get from it. Yeah, but I mean, I'm on all social medias. Reach out to me. I'm very interactive. I love getting messages and I love to help people. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. Again, you can check her out, christinehandy.com. Check out her book on Amazon or in the bookstore. Thank you so much for coming on my show today. Again, I'm Deborah Henne with Sounds Like Freedom. Don't forget to swipe, tap, or click over to deborahhenne.com. You can follow me on social at Deborah Henne Author on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And let's not forget to tune into our thoughts to make sure they sound like Jesus's, so they sound like freedom.